some people quickly run out of room as well. So hopefully we have some good ones tonight to share, and I will throw this to whoever has the nifty console radio they would like to show the group tonight and tell us a little story about it if they have one. Look at all the hands go up. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, Dave. Well, it looks like Dave raised his hand first. So, Dave, do you
All right, off we go.
Like to share your screen?
You call me.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I don't have a screen to share, but let's see what we can do.
All right. Take us around.
All right. I have, oops. I just kicked the, unplugged the light. Wait a minute.
No, take your time. No problem.
Tripped over the cord. So I don't know if we can see it or not. No, it's too dark.
It's not too bad. If you need to put that down, put the light on. That's perfectly fine.
Good idea.
I should take this outside and show them where I am.
Yeah, I tripped over the light cord.
Oh, those things happen.
All right, so we have, I can get a better picture of it. Okay, come on. I don't know. Seem to be having a problem with my iPad.
Pumpkin, what are you over here? Pumpkin's over here in the doorway. I can't get on.
Anyways, it's a,
Come on.
there's a Victor.
Ah,
R34
very nice.
from about 1930 or 31.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is this is probably a second generation Victor. The first one was the RE45 and some others. And the easy way to tell the difference is the location of the knobs.
Ah,
The early one had 3 knobs, one on either side. And then the second generation had 2 knobs underneath. That me echoing?
it might be.
No idea.
That seems better now.
I kind of liked it. It was very futuristic.
That's a beautiful. Now, how did you come across this?
Well, I found this at a house sale in 1987
Oh, you got it long.
in Providence, Rhode Island. And let's see. This was upstairs and it worked.
Okay.
And the guy who was selling the contents of the house brought it downstairs and it didn't work. Well, come to find out the owner had connected an external speaker, which meant he had to disconnect the internal speaker.
Oh,
So that was easy fix.
sure.
Now the back of it, we can get back here,
There we go.
has 2 chassis. Where'd it go? Oh, there we go.
There, that seems a little better.
I had my finger on
Oh,
it. Using an iPad.
oh, sure.
Anyways, it has 2 chassis,
Interesting.
tuner on the top,
Oh,
which has 4 tubes. And down at the bottom, amplifier and power supply.
okay.
Has an 80 and a pair of 45s.
Ah, it's a 7 total.
Actually 8.
Oh, okay.
How'd that work? Oh, I know. Yeah, there are four 24s and then a 27 as a detector.
Okay.
All right, the 4 24s, I'm gonna go sit down.
Sure.
All right. I have a little trouble breathing some days. At any rate, the 24s, it's a TRF because as I said, it's a Victor, and it was made before RCA picked up Victor. No, that's wrong. It wasn't made, but it was designed. The circuitry was designed before RCA came along.
Oh, okay.
And it has 3 RF amplifiers. But interestingly, it has 5 tuned circuits. There are 5 separate tuning condensers, which are mounted vertically.
Okay.
And there's a metal disc. I don't know if you saw that in that picture, but you see them online. There's a metal wheel in the back.
Okay.
And when you do the tuning,
Let me know when you can move.
I can move.
it turns that disc, which then will operate the up. Let me turn it on. All right, here's a tuning knob,
Okay.
and when you move the tuning knob horizontally, the disc in the back rotates,
I'll stay out of the way.
Interesting.
and
Interesting.
the tuning knob can either be slid across like this, or you can turn it, and it operates like a vernier.
Got it. How clever.
And the dial is backlit.
Oh, very nice. That's handsome.
And then that, if I can snag it, there's a, right in the middle. Yeah, probably won't be able to, lights in the way. Is that big wheel in the middle.
Oh, sure.
That is the wheel that turns it. And like there's one of the tuning condensers sticking up. Another
Right.
interesting thing is that all the RF tubes are completely enclosed.
Yeah, I see that.
Unfortunately, it has decided not to run. I can put the meter probe on the AF input, and you can hear the amplifier working.
Yep.
So I need to take a look at probably one of the RF tubes has decided to quit. And they said they're 24s, so they're not hard to find.
That looks like a pretty original cabinet. Is that
Yeah. One of the interesting things is that the R34, which is what this is not listed in riders, but the R35 is, and it's the same, electrically, they're the same. And I found a 1931 sales brochure for Victor, which has the R35 and a couple of others that use the same electronics. But again, there's no reference to the R34. The difference between them is the styling of the cabinet.
okay?
That's the big difference. And this is a
You shoot a radio because
nice plain cabinet, whereas the other one is very ornate looking. And this has the, this is a high boy with the spreader base. I can see that. So that kind of makes it nice looking. But it's not overly enormous.
No, it's actually a reasonable size.
Yeah, so there's the spreader base.
Because that's one of the big dreaded things of consoles is they can get really big very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, and the front of this, as you can see, is fairly plain. Has those two bars going down in front of the speaker.
Sure.
And the, whereas I said, the other one is very ornate looking. You can see pictures of them online. But this is a Victor Radio R34
Very nice.
from 1930 or 31.
Beautiful. For a 90-year-old system, especially with an original cabinet like that, that's really beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's very nice. Nice looking. I have a couple of other consoles that are not as nice as this one.
Wow.
One's a
A
Stuart
relic
Warner.
from the Herbert Hoover area.
Yeah,
Hoover was still in the White House, right? So that's pre FDR.
Yeah,
bottom,
1930.
the bottom was just starting to drop. I wonder how much one of those went for in its day. It was probably a fairly expensive set.
Yeah, I was looking at stuff about that yesterday, and it was 100 and a quarter or something like that. And this article that had talked about the equivalent dollars today of being many thousands.
Yeah, you
Of
put that in
dollars.
the inflation calculator, and you got that was
Oh,
for the
yeah.
hoi polloi.
Yes.
Very nice. Very
So,
nice.
anyways, that's what I have.
Well, thank you for sharing.
That was great.
You're very welcome.
Great.
All right.
Who's next?
I'll go.
All right, Len. Go for it.
Let me share the screen.
All right.
Oh, I'm disabled from sharing the screen.
Oh, right. Hold on a second here. Sorry. My bad. I will get you up and going. You should be good to go, Len. I apologize for that. I like your backdrop, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Oh, where the heck is it? Oh, that's not it.
Hey, John, can I have a minute after Len, please?
Of course you can, Bruce.
Alrighty.
Oh, this isn't it, but this is something I wanted to show you. This is a early clock radio.
Whoops, Len, we don't actually see that. You're sharing a Paint Shop Pro.
Oh,
That dog seems to agree.
let me try this again. Somehow I lost it. Give me a second. I'll come back.
Sure. Hey, do you want me to hand off to Bruce Burgess and we'll go back to you, Len?
Yeah.
Bruce, are you prepared to?
I am. I just thought I would show you where I'm at.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I'm in Lottsburg, Virginia, on property that my family has owned, my father owned. And you're looking at, can you see that?
Yes,
absolutely. You're looking at the Coan River, Coan, named after an Indian tribe named Chickacone. And it is so beautiful here this evening. I'm going to just do a little pan,
okay.
if I can, so you can see what's going on. It's a pretty broad tidal river that empties right into the Potomac.
Wow.
So I'm going to, I won't be able to see what I'm looking at right now because the sun is in my eyes.
Sure.
There are only two houses at the end of the road, and they are both owned by a man who owns an oyster factory here. And right at the end of the road, you can't see it, but there is an oyster seedling factory where they grow millions of little tiny oysters.
Ah.
And so this is 2 days ago, we had a tornado in the area 3 miles away, and there was some damage, but no one got hurt.
That's good.
But this is where we are. And the purpose of being here is to renovate a family cabin that
Ah,
might be coming into view now,
yes, we can see it.
right? And so we're making good progress. Our goal is to put the windows in and the siding on, and we're staying in a little camper right behind that. So
Okay.
thank you for airtime. I just thought
Oh,
I would show you what's going on here.
no, that's great. That's
Beautiful.
beautiful. You know, if we want to put a console spin on this, there are consoles that are bigger than that cabin.
It could be. The cabin's only 14 feet by 23 feet.
That's beautiful. That's
And
fine.
it has 4 rooms.
Very nice.
All right.
Travelogue, console radio show. What more do you want?
Right.
Absolutely. No, Bruce on the road. That's excellent. That's really
Back to
excellent.
net. Thanks, guys.
You bet, Bruce. Thank you. Okay, Len. Oh, look what we have here.
Yeah, I got it now. All right, so this is my grandmother's radio, and that's actually my dad standing in front of it.
Wow.
She eventually had it, they called it pickled to match her dining room set.
Yep.
So that's why it's got this finish on it in this picture. But it's a
I-
Zenith 10S 155, 1937. My dad was probably about 5, 6 years old in that picture.
Wow.
And she had it from new, from when it was brand new.
Yeah.
And it's the only console I have.
That's
Where's
priceless.
his goatee? I thought that was you without a goatee, Len.
I'll have to draw it in.
There you go. Says you have a little paint shop.
We'll get the
That-
Magneto pencil kit, right? Beautiful.
So
What?
Len, what's your plan with that? Do you think you'll just leave it for sentimental reasons, leave the pickled finish?
Yeah.
I can't say I blame you.
I pulled it away from the wall last night and I forgot my dad actually put a car antenna mounted in the back.
Oh,
And
really?
if you pull it up, it'll go up above the radio here. But I forgot he had done that.
Funny. Does it all fully functional otherwise?
It was, but I haven't played it in 15 years maybe, so I'm kind of afraid to turn it on.
Yeah.
I'll have to do something, put a dim bulb tester on it before I do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's priceless. These are the things you keep no matter color, condition, whatever.
Yep.
Well, congratulations. That's beautiful. That's really nice. I like it a lot.
Thanks.
That's great to do. Nice heirloom.
So who's next? Who else has a console?
I've got one for you, John.
All right.
All right. Oh, hello, Tom. Just a quick sneak in a hello, Tom Pereira.
Yeah, he made it
did
in. I
sneak
saw him there.
You got it. Go ahead.
Okay. There, hopefully that'll work out. I'm gonna have to take a quick run downstairs and we'll turn the camera around.
Great.
Turn the volume up so I can hear you guys. There we
Perfectly
go.
fine. Get the benefit of tours of people's houses.
There you go. All right, turn the camera.
Oh,
There you go. 1948 Philco. I'm not sure what the model number is on it. It is in operating condition.
Oh, that's beautiful. Ah,
The turntable, unfortunately, is parts are unobtainium, so it's not working. So what I'm going to do is take the phono input and mix down an old iPhone that I have with some music on it and play it that way.
sure. Sure.
I did not much to see back there with the back on it, but I did a full rebuild on it, and I did upgrade the speaker on it.
What a nice, handsome radio. And actually not a very big console. I mean, it looks like it moves super easily.
Oh yeah, it's not very heavy at all. It is a. I worked at a police department, and one of our personnel there said that they had inherited a house, her and their sister, from their uncle down in Uxbridge, Massachusetts. And I asked if there are any antique radios, and they said, yeah, I think there's one in the basement. They brought back a picture of this radio. And I says, well, if you're interested in selling it, I'm interested in buying it. And a couple of weeks later, she showed up at the police station, and in the back was this radio. It was all covered with dust.
Mhm.
And she asked what my intentions were. I says, well, I'm looking for, a nice piece of furniture in the house. And she says, well, you're going to sell it? I says, I have every intention of refurbing it and using it. I don't want to sell it. I want this as part of my living room. And she says, well, under those circumstances, you can keep it. You don't have to pay for it. We're glad it's going to a good home, and we'll get refurbished and put back on the air.
Oh, great.
So at a time, I didn't have room here in the living room, but we pulled up the carpet, and you can see the floor here behind the cat toys.
Oh, sure.
Back 98 years ago, when the house was built, it was not unusual to have this nice hard maple on the outside, and then they just put pine on the inside because they were expecting to cover it up with rugs.
Right.
So we pulled up the rug, and it was all gray pine, and a guy came in and sanded it. I wanted to stain it. He says, maple doesn't stain, the pine will, but if we put down some varathane, you'll be surprised. And it just came up with this beautiful floor. So we just left
Looks
it.
nice.
And my wife, who's not enthused about radio stuff, says, you go over to the EOC and you get that radio and bring it home. It's going to be part of the living room. So there you go. That's my console from 1948. So,
That's
Beauty.
That's beautiful. Very.
yeah, is it? All I had to do was clean it and put some wax on it. So
Nice.
But that's kind of interesting, your story, Paul, because when we've occasionally get either people reaching out on Facebook or even over email looking to find a home for their console, they're actually, sometimes you get owners that are just motivated by people who will keep it and actually store it and not sell it, because they're sentimental, but they don't have the space for it, but they're looking for someone to actually give it a home and not just to flip it. That's happened multiple times where they really are want some feel some confidence that it's going to the right person.
yeah, so it was a very interesting project. I really enjoyed it, and it does get played every once in a while, and it's AM only, but that's the way it was back in 1948, unless you were paying the really big bucks, the
Very nice.
Zeniths and all those. So, and just a couple other odds and ends on the top here. The 1958 Vanguard, that's in working condition.
Oh, very nice.
1962 General Electric, and this guy, and I ask often, and I don't know if we'll be able to see it in the picture here, but can you see the inscription there?
Yes, it says Boys Radio.
Okay, so does anybody know what a boys radio is?
I do not.
Yep.
Well, that's why it's blue, I'm going to guess, right? It's not
No,
the pink radio,
it-
which is the girls.
This was enabled to bypass the taxes that were necessary to come in for electronics from Japan. They are all like 2 transistor radios and were considered a toy. And there's a whole series of them out there. A lot of them had all kinds of different names, usually manufactured by about 3 or 4 different companies.
Yeah, that's exactly. So I've got the original box, the leatherette case, even the original 9-volt battery that came with it. And you are exactly right. A boys radio is 2 transistor. They use one of the transistors as a audio preamplifier, and that's also used as the RF amplifier, and then it feeds an audio amp. So it was a 2 transistor radio, and they didn't have to go to all those. That limit was 2 transistors. You get any more than that, and you had to pay all the tariffs to protect the American manufacturers. So you're exactly right. So there you go.
Interesting.
That was great.
When she asked you what your intentions were with the radio, you could have said, I don't want to marry it. I just want to really fix it.
Well,
And some people don't even ask you that when you ask for their daughter anymore.
All right. We won't go there.
We won't. We really won't. We'll go on to the next console radio is what we'll go on to.
There we go. Let's go.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
You bet. Thank you. That was great, Paul.
Thanks. I'll see you back up on the shack.
All
All
righty.
right.
So who's next? I could certainly slide something in myself if we don't have anybody. Oh, we got Mark. Mark, you're on.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Hear you well.
Okay, very good. What I'm going to do, the former gentleman just struck an interesting note with me. I'm going to deviate just a little bit because all of my radios can be seen online on the Museum of Antiquated Technology site.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to swing over to my transistor collection, which
Whoa.
we all had these as kids. And as part of the museum, I wanted to show some of the more colorful examples. So I've concentrated in two areas. I probably have about 40 of these things, but I do transition sets. Last year, 2 portables, first year transistor portables. I also collect vintage transistors as part of the museum. So what I tried to do was I tried to study the very early changeover between tubes and transistors. And as a result, I got a little carried away with all those little wonderful colored jewels that came out in the 50s and 60s. So I'm going to swing over. I only have so much room on my phone, but this will, excuse me, on my camera. Let me get my video skills in order here. So this is another large selection of the transistor radios. I'm sure they're not showing the detail, but they're a lot of fun. And there's certainly something that takes up far less room than a console, although I have about 8 of those in the collection. And I thought I'd bring a little something different to the table. So I've been working on a project to reenact a firehouse alarm system. I know this is not a big electromechanical group, but I suspect you might get a kick out of this. So without practice, I'm going to try this, and I hope you'll hear it as well.
Okay. As you're trying this, Mark, one of the things we will do as a future open forum topic will be certainly transistor radios, especially the early, like the portable stuff. So we'll be sure to have that as one of our subject matter for more in depth, because I'm sure a lot of us have one or more floating around in our collection.
Yeah, it's funny. I just tried to talk into my camera. All right, let me continue. I'm going to fire this up real quick. Let's see if I can give you. Ah, there you go. The device on the left-hand side is the Telegraph Transmitter. That came out of a police station.
Okay.
The device that's up top is an 1800s. I've been looking for one of these for a long time. Sort of a holy grail, and that is the printer, which of course is Gainwell equipment, and that's dated in the 1890s. And you can see it still pops along just like new. So I hope you're getting all of that.
How cool.
Yeah, isn't it cool? And so what happens is the telegraph wheel with the programming on the sender, that device with the red knobs, that's the transmitter, and the receiver is much, much older, but that's a Gainwell, and that would print out a code between 1 and 7 dots, and then the 1 and 7 dots and their spacing would tell you where the fire is. So that's my Gainwell fire alarm system. I'm pretty excited about it. It took probably a couple of decades to get wealthy enough in my retirement to touch one of these silly Gainwell printout devices. So that's it.
Wow, that is cool. I've never seen one before.
Yeah, I thought folks might like something a little, and now for something a little different.
There we go. For
I've
those
got
watching,
I've got a
There we go.
printer for one of those.
What's that?
I've got the printer with the wheel, and it'll print out on a paper tape the dots,
Is that
you know,
something you
punctures
would,
them.
is that something you would ever want to part with by chance?
I have to think about that. I'll have to talk to you about it.
I would be remiss if I did not ask.
Very old.
I know it is. I know exactly what it is. I know
Now-
what most of this stuff is. It's interesting. As we age, we pick up this knowledge. I've been collecting since a teenager in electronics and vintage technology. So it's really been a lifelong hobby. And geez, I hate to go away without leaving some of this knowledge behind, as we all do. So I've been doing my part to write the occasional article, and that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Back to
you.
I write something for Fairlawn called Theoretics Demystified. And what I do is I take a complicated subject and boil it down to language that if somebody off the street can understand, or a newbie. This way, somebody who doesn't understand this stuff can get into it rather than just giving up looking at it, you know?
Right, right. No, I get that. That's wonderful. I think any way that we can contribute, being an amateur operator, we've brought up a number of kids and introduced them to radio of a different higher frequency sort, but nonetheless radio.
Yeah, it's in the resonator from the Fairlawn group if you ever want to look at it. And I like your
Oh,
bubble.
cool. Yeah, I belong to a number of organizations. There's the big outfit out in California that it's a beautiful museum, and I recommend everybody go see it.
CHRS?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the one. Wow. What a bunch of ambitious fellows and women they are.
Yep, we had a Zoom with them, and Steve gave us a grand tour, so it was pretty cool.
I was
Yeah.
there.
He's
a
remember
proud
papa.
distinctly. That's
Plus
what
the-
got me
So-
hooked on him.
You
I
know,
see
now are
the
you
bubble
into,
off.
not
I
to
see the
digress
bubble
here,
lights in the back.
not to digress, but if I could just ask one question. Now, are you interested in all things sort of vintage fire department?
Oh yeah,
Or is-
I actually have friends in the Hanson Fire. I know the chief in Hanson.
Interesting, okay.
But
So-
yeah, I
Cool.
try to stay technical, but the museum does have, things like fire houses and helmets and things like that.
Now, I don't know if this was something that was unique to the city of Boston or if it was something that was, on a national level. In Boston, in the very early days of the organized fire service, rather than have a number, so it wouldn't be engine 31, they would name the fire company, would pick a name. Many of the names were very cool. One of the names for one of the companies was Torrent, obviously, related to water.
Yeah.
So I had seen this station that was, it was bandied around. The city was getting rid of it. Did somebody want to buy it? Should it be a landmark, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, they turned it into condominiums. The amazing thing is with the station that still has engraved in the granite Torrent Company overhead is that they did conduit. And I happened to be visiting my mother's childhood parish over in Roxbury. What's across the street from St. Patrick's on Magazine Street? The Torrent Fire Company. And the thing that struck me is how small but skinny and tall, and then how cool it must be to live in that building.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you would move in and bring your Gamewell equipment, and it would just be a perfect match. But I mean, it really was something kind of neat, and I never had any idea that the companies were sort of a competitive thing almost, and they would engage in who could get there first, who could get things out, who had the coolest names. It was sort of a bragging rights thing. This is before it became obviously a very highly efficient and regulated and highly trained organization that we know today. But it's just kind of a neat little piece of Boston history, and the building is cool. If I can find somewhere I had a little piece on it from one of the historical societies, I'll put it in the IO group, but you might get a charge out of it. But thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. That was neat stuff.
Oh, you're very
Very
welcome.
cool.
That was a lot of fun. Absolutely.
All right, who's up?
Who's up?
Mr.
Oh,
Hawley.
Bill. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
No, I was going to call on Bill, Mr. Hawley.
Volume.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay.
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I got a little, where am I going
You should
here?
have volume. Oh.
Anyway, I got a project I've been working on for some time. And I thought I'd show it off, which I showed it before.
Okay.
It's a little crystal set and shiny. Let's see if I can get this.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Nice.
when I got it, it was grungy. As far as I can tell, it's homebrew. So I felt no compunction about improving things here and there. So when I cleaned it up, it had some engine turning showing up under the dial, but that was not savable. So I took all the components off and I turned it and I took a palm sander with 120 grit paper, sanded it, and that gives a nice smooth matte finish
Hang on a second. I
to this.
pulled the pull chain.
And on the back, I had taken everything out because these connections were all corroded. Cleaned everything up and put it all back on. And
Wow.
I'm about ready to wire. And this is the original coil in it.
Mm.
And as you can see here, there's some beautiful work, very, very fine construction technique.
Sure.
But again, I don't think it's original, and I didn't like the wire because it's a little skinny.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to improve the set. So I built a new set of coils for it, and they're basket weave.
Wow.
And I've got to put some taps in here for the tap switch for the primary. And
Wow.
the secondary is tuned with the capacitor. So I just got to wind them up. And the thing is, the basket weave was a technique that was in use at the same time. And I'm also using double cotton covered wire, which is what was in the set. So I'm keeping true to its spirit if I am improving the circuit a little bit.
Right.
But
Nice job.
and I didn't refinish the cabinet. I tried staining it to get some of that light out, and that didn't work too well. And I didn't really want to take it all apart and do a complete refinish on it. So I just cleaned it up and wiped it down with paint thinner. So that's what I've been working on. Hopefully I'm going to get it wired in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll see how it works.
Well, maybe you have to give us an update, Bill.
Say again?
They said you'll have to give us an update when you complete the next stage.
Yeah,
That was great. Nice job.
thank you.
So who else has a console or radio related? Okay, we got Roy. And how about you, Roy? Why don't you're on.
Can you guys see that?
We can.
Last to the apple first.
1 second. So it's 1929. It's a pair of Atwater Kent model 55s. And these are actually for sale. If anybody's interested, it'd be a great project for somebody. I just don't have enough time or bandwidth to deal with them. So I'll just kind of walk through the pictures here. I have the tubes for those. Well, actually, you can see them on the bottom. This, they bounce between the two radios. I try to get them both.
Showing the console, no tubes.
They're very clean.
Well, I didn't actually clean them up there. This is how I got them. Actually, John, I got these in Ashland, not too far from you.
That's funny. I think I recall seeing the ad. Where did you see the ad? Was it on Facebook?
It was an estate sale. And so.
Oh, they're actually in pretty good shape, all things considered.
All things considered, right. And so I'm not even looking for the inflation of the 92 years.
Oh, maybe you are.
So that's it.
Well,
Anybody's
anyone?
interested. They're on Craigslist right now for $75. Obviously, anybody here would be getting a better price than that. I'm just trying to see what they'll go for. But I think you could probably get one good one out of them with a little bit of extra parts here and there. Obviously a grow cloth, but the wood on this one is fine. The other one, if you saw the other picture, that part was broken.
Okay.
But
they certainly look like enormously restorable and more than salvageable units. That's for sure.
Yep, they're a nice climate controlled space, so they're safekeeping. If anybody wants to drive halfway across the country, I'll help you load them in the RV. No problem.
That's great. Well, people, go find Roy if you want another couple of AKs in your collection.
All right, how do I stop sharing?
Oh, I'll take care of that for you.
Thank you.
You bet. No, of course you've got a console.
I was waiting to see some consoles show up. Let me see if I can do this. I don't know that I can see if I can reverse what my camera is looking at here. There we go. Maybe do one of these.
There we go.
Does that show up?
Yes, it does. Very well.
So this is a Grundig SO360, which there happens to be one of on the list of the big great giveaway that's coming up. So if you have one, how can you not grab a spare? Or maybe I could be the first kid on my block to go quadrophonic or something.
There you go. A Grundig Quadrophonic.
Yeah. So that's the SO360. Pretty nice looking piece of sort of Scandinavian style. And it's got a, see if I can do this. It's got the storage cabinet down below.
Oh, sure.
It's stereo, so it's got the big speakers on either side. It's a multi-speaker system. I don't know if it probably shows fairly well in the grill cloth. It's some weird German size, but they're huge. It's like 7 by 12 or something are the ovals, and then there are tweeters up above, and then
very impressive.
Hidden in the top, the lid kind of slides back like a bread box,
right,
to where you actually
go. Very nice.
Get the dial with all the different knobs and equalizer and all the different settings, and it has a stereo balance control, and it also has a reverb feature built into it. And because it's the SO360, I mean, the sound is just amazing, for what it is, for an early 60s.
Yeah.
I should probably turn it off so you can hear me, because
no, we can hear you okay.
Okay. And because it's the SO360, on either side of the radio, sort of above and behind the speakers, I don't know how well you can see in here, but on one side is the multi-speed record changer.
Sure.
And then on the other side, when you open that lid up, you get the reel-to-reel
nice
tape recorder. So you've got reel-to-reel, multi-speed, turntable, AM, FM, shortwave, big honking stereo sound. I think it has like 4 EL95s in push-pull, 2 per channel, of course, being stereo. And so it's a nice enough piece of furniture. It's got a couple of little kinks, in the armor and stuff. The piano keys can get finicky on me, as I think I told you in one other thing. And sometimes as I'm switching back and forth between playing records or listening to a tape or going to the radio, every once in a while the FM function won't come back on right away, because it drops the B+ that goes to the RF amplifier tube for FM unless you fiddle with it to get that to come back on. I actually have I hot wired it, I jumper wired it, so I know I'll always have B+.
Yep.
But just, it's a nice piece of furniture, sounds amazing, pushes all my buttons, no pun intended, for a Grundig.
Oh,
who knows? I have to see what condition the one is that's up for grabs next week, but I'm sure I can make 2 really good ones out of one. or maybe wind up with 2 of them. Who knows?
Hey, well, maybe you can give us a quadrophonic demo, Noah.
Exactly. I have to find the right cartridge for the turntable to get the CD4. I've got a number of quadrophonic records, but I don't have anything that decodes them properly.
Yeah.
But you know, the reverb is more or less the old-fashioned kind of basic long spring inside of a box that plugs into a multi-pin socket that's on the chassis of the radio. And so it's probably not, you know, it's not any kind of digital recreation like 7.1 or 5.1 or anything like that, but it's more like the old-fashioned reverb in some of the early 60s automobiles that was basically a metal spring kind of thing in a box. But so I don't usually turn that on very much because the sound is just really nice coming out of the system as it is.
Yeah. Well, you know, the Germans actually didn't. Grundig might have been one of the few German manufacturers that dabbled with it, because I know Philips did. They kind of made their claim to fame with the reverb. So that's pretty unusual.
Yep.
Really cool stuff.
So there you have it.
Yeah, there's lots of buttons to push. I'm all in.
Lots of buttons to push. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 buttons and 2 tone control knobs. And then on the right-hand side is of course, the tuning, and then the ferrite antenna moving control that's on the outer rim. And then on this side, you've got the volume, the stereo balance left and right. And then down below here, you've got this other little arm that is the control for the reverb, how much reverb you want to add. And then all kinds of strange, typical German markings all over the dial, from Venezuela and Colombia and Switzerland and France and all that stuff. And it has the dual dial cord, so that, you know, you can set it for an FM station, and then you can push it to broadcast, and the tuning dial will move the other pointer, so you don't lose the FM station while you're going and hunting for your AM or shortwave station.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I couldn't pass. So as I first got into the Grundigs, I started with the little table model, and then when I found out about these, it was like, well, bigger must be better, right?
And you were found to be true.
And plus, even though they're harder to move, they're seems like they're easier to work on because they're bigger, easier to get to, more room to work inside.
You can climb right in there.
Exactly.
That's
all
awesome.
right. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks,
John.
Noah. That was awesome.
I got a comment. I have I have a Zenith. I have the chassis out of a Zenith stereo console, and it has one of those reverb springs.
Yep.
So apparently Zenith did it once.
I'm sorry, cut him off.
Yeah, I don't know
cool.
if another big console manufacturer, of course, was Fisher, and I don't know if they ever did anything with it. But let me see if I have a.
I would suggest you bring it up at one of the, on the 15th.
I do have. I just happen to have found the. Let me see if I have to go back into the switch camera perspective here. This is basically what the relatively nondescript reverb box looks like.
Okay, sounds good.
And it's just got this multi-pin, almost looks like, you know, the end of a vacuum tube.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a 9-pin connector that disappears into this magic box. And it's called the Grundig. Well, it doesn't really, just says Grundig made in West Germany, but inside there is where the reverb stuff happens.
They also mentioned decoder. Does your 360 have an FM multiplexer, or is that does that include?
Yes, and it's a similar looking box to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So you got these like accessory boxes and these sockets on the chassis that you can plug them into. I think maybe you know, maybe the reverb box didn't plug into like a table model, but
Hey,
I think
everybody.
the decoder would. So anyhow, lots of fun.
Oh, that's really cool.
Thanks,
That's-
Noah. That's cool. I'll be looking for one of those at IKEA as a wine rack. Probably it'll be.
That's one step away from a coffin.
Hey, for
Oh,
the
yeah,
right
you know, you
price,
could get,
for the
you
right
know-
price, you can, you know, you don't have to look very far. Just help me move the one that's up in New Hampshire next Saturday. And then,
They're giving
that's
away a free truss to anybody who wants it, from what I understand.
That's funny.
Thanks,
So-
Noah. That's cool. Way cool. All right. Who's up in the console parade here? John, you said you had something to slip in if you want to slip it in.
I can. Mark, did you want to say something before I I've got George. We got a few people to slip in.
Oh yeah, just a quick question. The fellow with the German radios, does he
Yes.
know Ross Hofstrasser?
oh yeah, he
Ross-
usually turns and runs away whenever he sees me at an event. 'Cause he knows, he knows
He's got more-
I've got
he's got
technical
more-
questions, or I'm looking for parts or whatever, and so he runs away very quickly.
Yeah,
He's got more of you guys' radios stacked away awaiting repair. So don't worry, should be a year or two and you'll get it back.
If it's not Noah chasing him down, it's me chasing him down.
I've gotten pretty good at repairing them. It's just usually it's more or less of, you know, a technical question, a little advice, a couple of hints here and there, or spare parts that I'm looking for, and that, you know, that gets tougher.
Right. Yeah. He can be caught on occasion.
Yep. No, very, very nice man. Very helpful.
Oh yeah, enormously helpful.
Usually
He's
starts
always
out.
trying to sell me radios. That's the problem.
It
Whenever I-
usually starts out with something like, so, yeah, Ross, I've got a Grundig blah, 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 blah. And he usually then says, why? You know, and then we go from there.
Yeah, that's true. You know, George, I thought saw you raise your hand a moment ago. What? We got
Yeah, let me, I'm gonna unmute myself there. Sure. I've got lots of different consoles, and I figured maybe the one I would show is one that I kind of feel like it's gotten away. There's a whole story behind this thing, but let me, if I can, I'm gonna share my screen.
Of course.
And let's see if I can get this thing to work properly. And let's see, I need to, oops, that was a mistake. Wrong place. I gotta find you.
Are you trying to show us that 3000Z?
Oh, no.
No.
Where am I here? Oh, no. Oh, okay. There. Okay. So now let's. Sorry, I iconized this thing and it all went away. So let me share my screen.
Okay.
And see if I can find. Are you seeing this?
We see the gallery. Yes.
Oh, no, that's not the one then. So let's see what I'm sharing.
At least we've got your computer though, so that we're getting there.
We've got control.
Okay, so do you see?
See circuitry.
Yeah. Okay.
Push button.
This is the radio, or at least the way it was gotten. This is a Crosley Presto tune.
Oh.
And there's a story behind this thing. This thing, I guess, was on Craigslist in Boston. And a guy's brother bought it for him, took it down to Providence. That's a gentleman on another forum. Ted, he's the guy that does the dial strings now, that's taken over from Adams. And so anyways, he fiddled with it for a while, and then he decided to throw it up on Craigslist again. And I saw this and I said, boy, you know, I kind of, there's something about the design of that cabinet that looked
I'm done
great.
with
So
registration, believe it or not.
it's like $20 thing. So I says, okay, I got my brother to go pick it up, and then he dropped it off. So anyways, it's in really lousy condition, but the cabinet itself in the front looks not too bad, looks restorable. Sorry, I'm gonna go through some bad pictures here, but the top is kind of a mess. The thing that I was trying to get to is, here was the chassis, the way it was delivered. No tubes and encrusted.
Yeah.
I don't know, you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a motor, and it's an interesting motor, which is the reason why I'm talking about it. It has the standard Crosley, gold dial, and then this is the selecting mechanism to control the motor, and you can see how it was kind of like butchered a bit. So the thing that was interesting, I get in a little closer to it. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of after pictures, so let me go back to that one. No, okay. So this is the selector mechanism. You can see that there's these little notches.
Yeah.
And the idea was is that you had a plunger that would go down. You tune something to, let's say, the left-hand button, the first button, and you put this thing. I ended up using a drill bit in order to make it happen. It would catch the knot. You tune to where you want to do, because these things would be kind of like just friction tied, and you tune it so that it would move this dial. And then next time you push the button, it would go to that, and it would know whether you're to the left or to the right of the station. So the motor would turn it in the right direction. So when you go there, okay, and it's done because on the other side there's a whole bunch of these switches that are like double throw switches, but it's in a very weird type design. And they, in the factory, in the manuals, it says you got to return it to factory to if there's anything wrong with it, because it's not serviceable in the field. And I found out it definitely is not serviceable in the field. This is the area where the switches are inside of this thing, and you can see they're all tied together with this like spring wire that goes back and forth, and there's have little screw threads on them, so you can make adjustments to where the points hit, so that you would know. So as you turn the dial, when the notches go by, it actually causes the switch to go to a different direction, and that changes when you hit the right button. The circuit gets closed through the particular switch that matches the button, and depending upon which way it's done, either the left motor or the right motor turns on, because there's actually two motors in here. And so you can see it's all encrusted here, but you're going to see these things here are leather straps, and this is the bottom of the chassis. It wasn't too bad. This is a picture of the motor, and the motor is basically two drums, these leather straps, and then behind there is like a buzzer. And as this thing vibrates, the leather straps tighten up on that drum and move it in that direction. So this one would have the pivot here, and the buzzer would move in this direction. Over here, the pivot would be here, and the buzzer would move in that direction. And so it would turn the drum one way or another. And then that's what would get linked back. Very interesting little thing. It's a simple mechanism from a point of view. Of course, these were all stiffened up since they've been there for 70 years. I ended up taking some neat's foot oil and soaking them in that for a bit to see if that would work. And I was able to get it to move. I was able to get it to tune. Unfortunately, some of the switches on there are broken, and on the other things, so only certain buttons would work. But I ended up getting the thing to work. I ended up buying, getting tubes for the thing and going through, recapping it. From a point of view of picking up stations, it just never really made it. So it's back in the garage sitting there. and trying to, at some point, I'll go back. There may be like an antenna coil that's open or something like that, because it just wasn't getting what I would think I should get for signal capture. And then these are the switches. And what it was is it would simply ground the appropriate, essentially bring the switch into the circuit and ground it so that it would cause that motor to turn. And so there's a common ground line here, and then each one of these runs off into one of those switches on the thing. So it's kind of a interesting mechanism from that point of view.
It's a pretty cool set. It almost looks like a Midwest when you look at the
Yeah.
cabinet. It's very deco, and it has, that
there was some
that sort
talk
of
that it
skyscraper
was-
look on the top. It's very sharp.
Yeah, there was some talk that it was designed by possibly, I'm trying to think whether it was Paul Getty.
Norman Bell Gates.
Yeah, well, Bell Gates. I don't know who actually designed it, but it has it's kind of like, it just had enough of this machine age type front end, that gave it a kind of a cool look, and that was what
Yeah, the
caused me to
escutcheon is
go
very
into it.
sharp.
Yeah. So, anyways, I was deep into it. And, I poured a ton of time and money into it, but it's back in the garage, still sitting there.
I think it's calling you, George.
Yeah,
It
Yeah,
wants you to
well,
come back out.
I've got so many projects that it had it shot for a while.
I hear you. Thank you for sharing, George. That's pretty cool.
That is
Okay,
cool.
thanks,
Thank you very
guys.
much.
You bet.
Well, let's see here. Is anyone else want to show something before I jump in? And I'm in no rush, so I can jump in last.
I've got one minor item that
All right.
I find interesting. The oldest piece of radio stuff I have is this.
Simplicity of Radio by Powell Crosley Jr. Very nice.
1920.
Send that over to George. It will unlock the secrets of his radio for him.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very interesting book about Crosley and his station, his WLW,
That's cool.
and
That's neat.
we were at a field day one year, ARRL field day, and a guy comes running across the street and he says, "What are you guys doing?" And we explained it to him. He says, "I got something for you." When he goes back home, he says, "I found this inside a wall when we were tearing the walls out to get rid of the plaster and go to drywall." He says, "I found this. Would you like it?" "Oh, yeah." So it was very interesting, and it's got all the prices and the parts and all the information you need
That is sharp.
to build your own radio, and it was quite a
Very cool.
find. So that's my oldest piece of
And it was a
radio.
freebie.
And it
beauty.
was. So
And it came to you. You didn't find it. It came to you. That is,
I've got
that's a
you go
nice thing.
check out my QRZ bio page, and the vast majority of stuff that I've got, it came to me. I
Very nice.
haven't paid a lot of stuff. He says, "Oh, I'm just looking for a good home." Oh, well, okay. And I've curtailed that quite a bit, but there's still another room full of stuff that's waiting for refurbishment and putting into service. So thanks, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it. And
Well, thank you.
Well,
Thank
that
you
was
for
great,
sharing.
Paul.
my first trip in, so thanks.
Well,
Cool.
don't be a stranger.
Well, if I get the, you guys got me on a mailing list, or if I can get on a mailing list, I'd certainly be glad to join that.
All
Are
right.
you on the groups.io? The Nevic groups.io email blaster?
No. I'm on, the only thing that I'm on is our Radio Club One groups IO. So
I'll try and remember to CC you when I create the meeting invites, but if you have an opportunity to just join the groups.io, just create an account, your email address then could be used as for our email.
Yes, you get all the chat, and you get the Zoom invites and all kinds of nifty stuff. So it's pretty cool. And
All right,
even I
cool.
could set one up, so it's not that scary.
There you go. Well, like I say, our radio club is on groups.io. So I'm already there. I just need to find the right one.
Okay, well, I'll
good.
keep you in mind. I'll see if I can keep you because Paul seems to have a very good Heath cake collection. So I feel that we will have an upcoming show on
right.
some meeting on Heath kits. And I know there's enough of you enthusiasts of that, so we'll be sure to have one.
So John, I don't have anything live to show, but I do have a couple of things that the group might find of interest. I'll try to buzz through them quickly. I just need to share my screen,
Sure.
which
Well,
is always an
we'll,
adventure in and of itself. So here we
okay.
will see
Not a
what we can do
problem.
here for you.
Sure, Paul, go please do, and then right behind you, I know Howard's got something, and I think Jack got something. So we'll definitely have some people still, in the queue. So go ahead, Paul.
All right, let's see what we can do here. Am I sharing successfully or am I failing miserably?
Not yet. We do see you.
All right. So I'm going to share off my desktop because I have the window open behind the Zoom.
Okay.
So let's kind of slide this over. Any luck?
Not yet.
All right, so walk me through this, John. I've hit the green share button.
Okay.
I
So
get a pop-up. It says share your entire screen. Zoom wants to share.
so you can select the window if you want. So if you have the window already open,
I do.
So if you click on it, it should allow you to share that window.
Maybe not.
Let's see, I'm going to sort of test behind you. So you should see so when it says select a window or application you want to share, you should be able to pick, whatever is there. And like if you see the photos window, you should be able to click on that, and it should allow you.
No pressure, Paul, but you're making the other Paul kind of nervous. So, get with it here, will you?
Well,
That's
of
funny.
course, I have this stuff jumbled in with all kinds of other, I won't say garbage, but images here. Hang on.
No problem.
All right. So I'm where I would need to be. However, so I do have to click the green share icon, correct?
Yes. Yeah, you click on that.
There I've done. Then it says desktop or application.
You can say application. And it should allow you, then it should give you a selection of what applications you want.
Yes, okay. I think I was selecting the wrong item. Let's see.
No problem. I think it's looking promising.
Okay. So I don't really have any chassis photos of this. You can see two shots of a Stromberg Carlson 430M,
Beautiful.
which my sister found at the end of a driveway. It was not in this condition. I don't really have any before shots. Well, it took some cabinet work, and it's a pretty good looker, I have to tell you that. And it is a beast. It's a large, heavy set, and it had that acoustic labyrinth feature in there, as if it needed anything to make it sound any louder. And it is a cardboard piece, but it was kind of cool. The label was still intact, and strangely enough, I was surprised that they put some type of a paper covering on the cardboard box that is the acoustic labyrinth with some fake wood veneer. So they were even imitating that stuff back in 1939, which was a little bit interesting to me. But a lot of TLC on the cabinet and a new set of grill cloth. And the only thing I would complain a little bit about this, for a Stromberg, I'm kind of hard pressed to complain, but the on-off control is embedded in the push buttons. So therefore, if your push buttons are acting up or need to be lubricated or a little bit sticky, it plays games with hopping around the different bands. It has a series of presets, AM, a couple of broadcast bands, a tuning eye. I mean, it really is a nice looking set.
Yeah.
And,
So you're all ready to join the world of German grunted radios.
You think so?
With finicky buttons and on-off switches built in. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's been an experience, right? Currently, right now, I mean, it will play. Sometimes it just needs a little cajoling, and it is certainly loud enough. I did something a little crazy one day, or at least I thought it was crazy from the amount of gain I got. I connected the antenna into the heat was off. I clicked it onto one of the radiators in the home, and ooh, did it get loud. But use the whole house for an antenna type of a thing. But it's a nifty set, 1939, sort of the tail end of the Depression. And I'm guessing that was something that was not in everybody's living room in those days. But the cabinet is built like a rock. The chassis is, everything is built like a rock because it's Stromberg. And slightly
Yeah.
underneath that, we have my Philco 45L,
Oh,
which
yeah.
has still got the original grill cloth. Excuse the Stuart Warner picture over on the left. There's the chassis. The chassis in the 45L is the same chassis that appears in the 45, which is probably the more famous butterfly Philco that you see quite a bit. And I mean, for what it is, it gives pretty good sound. It's kind of a neat looking little cabinet. I don't know if I can expand. It has sort of these inverted pine tree type features in the grill that's on there. I found that in an antique shop, a consignment shop. Actually, it was $200, and I said, well, that's a little bit much for me. And the woman said, well, how about $100 today? And then that still seems a little rough. And she said, well, we're having 50% off today. $50 sounded just right. So,
Wow.
off we went with that. And it's pretty much all original, which was the other nice thing. It was unmolested, original
deal.
knobs and original grill cloth. And the cabinet, I've done nothing to other than touch it up with a little Howard's feed and shine. And then the last thing I will show you is I acquired a RCA 281 out of a guy who was losing his sign shop. He lost his lease, and he sold me this for about $30.
Oh,
And it is a 1934 all-wave RCA. It is a behemoth with these doors that flip open. You can see the closed doors. You
beautiful.
can see the flip doors.
Yeah.
And it's so intimidating. I mean, I haven't done a damn thing to it. It's a big project. It's a ton of tubes, and currently it's sitting in the garage, but it just looks scary on the top. I'm a little bit afraid to look underneath, but the dial's really sharp, and the knobs are all great. They're original, and still has the the original labels for all the knobs and the functions, and it's a pretty cool set. So hopefully someday we'll get to that. The only thing is it's got to weigh over 200 pounds. It is an absolute beast. And my only complaint about the cabinet, otherwise I just clean the thing up and go with it, but around the legs, it looks, it's been bumped into by, many millions of vacuums probably in its life. It's got all these different things. But, if we cleaned it up enough, I think the upper portion of it is attractive enough that it would probably, catch the eye looking upwards rather than, look at the sins down at the bottom there. So
It was probably hit by a couple of 200-pound Kirby's over the years.
yeah. I mean, that's basically what was going on, so, and everything was big, everything was heavy, and the electric company, well, I don't know how much money they made because they're still probably burning coal. But, the escutcheon's in good shape. I apologize, the photographs aren't the best. To kind of get some flash coming up there on the dial, but it's a very sharp looking dial that's in mint shape. So whoever this guy got this thing from, it was well maintained. So those are my three quick ones for you.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I don't even know if I have room for it in the house with that Stromberg sitting in the dining room, which is
the battle of the heavyweights.
I have another Stromberg that I gave a cabinet to for a refinish to a guy, and I'm not even sure if his business is still viable, but I have the entire chassis, the speaker, and its acoustical labyrinth. If I decide to part it out, I'll put it in the IO group if anybody needs stuff. But it's just the weight of this stuff alone is scary. So
I've found that it's not so much a two-person, but it's a two-step process. You take the speaker and the chassis out of the cabinet, and then you move the cabinet close to where you want it to be, and then you haul the chassis and speaker in and reassemble it. Unless you can get some help. That's usually the best way to go at it.
I did have, because we were trying to get this thing. This was one of these things. I showed up at the guy's sign shop, and he's working on making signs, and he's like, get it out. So, we got it into the truck, onto some blankets on the flatbed. It was a nice day. I got it home. But then to get it into the garage without disassembling it, my back was, a little cranky. But we did it, and we'll see where it goes. It's a nice set. It probably deserves more than I've given it. But I like the RCA in the early 30s. I think that was their top of the line model that year. They did have the Zenith of their line, pardon the pun, had a turntable on top of it, which probably added another few inches and probably another 40 pounds to the whole thing.
Yeah.
But they're nice sets. So Anyway, that's
Hey.
my console sharing for tonight.
Hey,
That
Paul,
was great.
Yes.
on the chassis, there's like 6 of these cans that are red topped. Do you know
Yes.
what they are?
I believe, because I did look at the schematic for it. I believe, you know, it's capacitance. You know,
Okay, I saw some
I'm
other,
not sure. I
cans
haven't
that,
looked at it in
the red
a
tops
long.
look
Probably
kind of,
haven't looked at it since I stuffed it in the garage, but I did go to radiomuseum.org, and as I said, I haven't pulled the chassis out, but yeah, there's those red things. I don't know. It looks like something from a battleship or something. I don't know. The whole thing is very frightening. I'm a little overwhelmed by it. You know, my technical skills. I get a 6 tube AC/DC going. I'm a happy man. To look under that thing, I'd probably have to call in some assistance.
Nostalgia Air is good for schematics for those things too.
Yes. Thank you. Anyway.
That was great, Paul. I love that. That $30. That's a steal for $30.
Well, you know, it was one of these situations. The guy's in kind of a fancier, upscale town outside in the suburbs here, and you know, there was a little business district, and he had apparently been in the custom sign business, and even that business, he was keeping busy, but he wasn't making enough money any longer to really pay the rent. So it's one of these deals. We want to turn this block into high-end stores and condos, and you're out. So he had moved most all of his stock and tools and equipment and all,
Yeah.
and the radio into his garage in Medfield. So when we were in there, it was, get it out, and I've got orders to get out. So I said, yes, sir.
15 cents a
and off
pound.
we
Thing
went.
of beauty.
Yeah, there you go. That's a deal.
Yeah, we sell them by the pound, not by the tube. That's right.
Right.
All right.
Oh, thank you, Paul. That was great.
All right.
Nice stuff. So, Howard, do we still have you?
There's a Frito-Lay console down there. Packing up the chips. He's going to show us.
No, I'm not going to show you that. But I don't know if you guys remember this. This was Brookline. Can you see that?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I love the pre-war consoles, and at one time I had well over 300.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm down to less than 20. I'm actually down to less than 15. And thank you, Paul, for taking that Silvertone off my hands. But I just want to share with you a couple that I just really like. One of my favorites, just because I really like the face, is it's a Fairbanks Morse console.
That's great. That's awesome.
I really like this radio because, like I said, I like the face. Now, Fairbanks Morse, which mostly made, weighing devices and even diesel generators and engines.
Refrigerators, I think.
Yeah, really didn't make much in terms of radios, but I thought this one was beautiful. It is finished, but I don't have a finished picture of it. I just realized that. Anyway, that's one of my favorites. I just really like the dial. A mediocre performer. When I did restore it, I noticed some things just like trimmer capacitors, coils, were things like I had never seen in any other radio. It really looks like they kind of did their own stuff here. 8 tubes, not like I said, very beautiful radio. Some people don't like my refinishing techniques because I go a little crazy with the toning, but I tend to like that. Some of you might remember that RCA console that I had brought to Brookline. That got second place in one of the.
Yeah, and deservedly so.
I have 3 of those. It's just a nice sounding console. Again, nothing spectacular. They made scads of them, and it's just a very nice sounding, all around good radio. I like the woodworking on it, and that's probably the saddest thing for me. When I look at there's an Arvin Rhythm Queen.
Beautiful.
Another one that I really like, but I've gotten rid of so many mediocre consoles, and I recently got rid of an RCA RAE 84. That's not what that one is. That's a GE. Another kind of 1940s radio. They have no value. And this particular RCA was absolutely enormous. It was huge. But the woodworking was so intricate and beautiful. And I was really saddened that I just simply did not have the room for it anymore, nor I just didn't want to refinish it. And it needed it. I can remember just working on, this is a Silvertone, again, a very simple, basic console, but working on the legs for weeks, sanding, removing the old finish, fixing, filling.
Sure.
You know, it's, I love them, but I hate them. The dial on it's the way they did the book fold veneer is absolutely beautiful on that radio.
Yeah.
Not the right knobs, but that's okay. I'm gonna leave that one as is.
That's beautiful.
And the only other one that I kind of like is, some people call this the poor man's Stratosphere, Zenith 10S570. Again, a very basic radio, but another one that I really like. So besides these ones, I probably have another 8 or 9, and that's it. I've really began to turn away consoles because I just don't have the room for them anymore.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because, like I said, this RCA RAE 84 had very beautiful, very nice Victorian looking artwork. I'm sorry, woodwork, the lattice work, I want to say, and the legs were beautiful, but I just couldn't do it. And nobody wanted it, and it ended up unfortunately being a parts set. So that's my console story.
Oh, that was great. That's beautiful pieces.
And that's a few of my favorites there. So thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Howard.
Very nice. Very nice indeed.
Jack, I thought you wanted to show something if I got it right.
Well, I wish I had something to show to you. The location of it is 1 mile away from me.
Well,
but I think the story is interesting. Now, we had the Grundig. That was in the early 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
That Grundig we saw?
Yes.
Well, I have a 1963 Zenith console that's 6 feet long, opens up in the center, has AM, FM, stereo radio, and you could plug in a tape recorder or a cassette player, whatever else in the back. It had a turntable that tracked at 2 grams, and it was said that you could play a record album 1,000 times and it wouldn't wear out because it was tracking at such a low gram, and it had a floating head on it. So even if you flicked the head of it and it skated across the record, it wouldn't scratch it.
Really?
So the interesting thing about it, and I hope someday I'll get a chance to show it to you, is that I won it in a bet. It was a bet between me, who was a high school student, and my parents. And the bet was that I could lose 40 pounds between August and New Year's.
Okay.
And because I was, overweight, I was 220 pounds, and I wanted to get down to 180. That's what my parents wanted me to do. So I started in August, and by the first week in December, I had made it. So they said, okay, we agreed, we'd buy any stereo you want. At the time, consoles were, the furniture was the big draw, and I knew that my mother would go for that. If I had wanted a component system, which was becoming more prevalent, she wouldn't have gone for that. But because it was a work of art and beautiful furniture, she went along with it. And it was Italian provincial, blonde, similar in color to that Grundig, and had 8 speakers in it, and had a tuner and preamp that was tubes, but the power amp was solid state transistors.
Okay.
And it was rated supposedly at 240 watts, but probably more likely it was 60. I don't know. Someone more technical than I would be able to talk about that, but it had an electronic tuning eye in it for the tuner, and I'm trying to think of what else. You could put satellite speakers in the back. They had connections. I don't have those. But I would love to find somebody in the club that could help me get the AM section of it working better. It does pull in AM, but it's not strong. And it's not the antenna, which would be an obvious, that's an obvious fix for AM. But someday I hope to find somebody in the club that can help me work on that. But it was 1963 Zenith, and I have all of the sales brochures for all the different models that they made in those years, that year. And I have the operating manual. I have a spare stylus for the phonograph. I'm trying to think what else I might have. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I wanted to at least share the story of how it came to me with the club.
That's cool. Well, we'll have to give us some photos at some point, Jack.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing it.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'll do? I'll just quickly slide mine in, and I don't know if anyone else has anything, and then we'll consider wrapping up the next few minutes. So how about I'll quickly share. I'll share a few consoles here. Can everyone see this? So I think I showed this before, maybe about a year ago, but this is a Telefunken Sonata 5183 WK from 1960. This has been in the family since new. My aunt bought this new, and basically a quick story is when she sold the family house that my grandfather bought in 1925, so she was the last surviving member, she needed to do the big move. And one day she called me out of the blue just to recount the tales of the move. And she goes, the movers took my old radio. I meant to leave it for the new owners. And she goes, do you want an old radio? And I said, well, I don't know, what kind of old radio do you have? I was thinking of some old transistor radio or something. And I was like, not very interested. She goes, no, it's my Telefunken. And I said, Telefunken? And I knew what a Telefunken was, but I couldn't remember what the radio. And suddenly it hit me that this radio was in the house in Queens, New York, was in the family room, but it got moved up to her sister's room when she bought one of the last Japanese-made Sony compact systems. That was like early 70s. So it disappeared, and I hadn't seen the radio for like 40 years. So she goes, well, that's the radio. Do you want it? And I said, absolutely. So I had to rent a car because my car isn't big enough to hold something like this. I had to actually drive down to New York, got it out of the storage unit because it was approaching November and I didn't want that thing sitting there for the winter. And I took it home. Now I had to do a sympathetic restoration, meaning this is the original finish, but I had a lot of cleaning and there were some scratches I had to buff out. And I used the Howard's, they have a very, very fine grit buffing cream. And I used that, and just for some scratches on top here, but I got, this is a piano finish, and there's no cracks or anything on there. This is exactly as you see it. Like there's some very minor scratches on there, but I didn't want to be too aggressive, and I figured I can live with a few very minor, hard to see scratches. But this is a 3-speaker stereo. It doesn't have FM stereo, but it does have stereo input from, let's say, auxiliary. So reel to reel, It does have a phonograph, but that's mono. There's the phonograph, in fact, right here. The phonograph doesn't work. It needs a rebuild. And it just, I haven't bothered putting any time into it. Eventually I will when time allows. But the typical problems that these suffer from, you need a new idle wheel and obviously and greasing and so forth. But this plays beautifully. This, in fact, I took a photo at night. It's just a nice cheery face with the EM84 Magic Eye tube there. And what I bought as an accessory, Telefunken always offered bookshelf speakers as an accessory for anything that offered stereo or even just mono and wanted an extra speaker. So this is a period Telefunken All-Fox Strahler speaker, and it's beautifully designed because it's this nice elegant teak wood, nice round design and nice wraparound teak wood piece. So I get essentially a 4-speaker stereo out of it. And in fact, I found on eBay some years ago, they made an external stereo regulator. You could actually adjust the stereo balance from this device, but it doesn't work. But it was $5 and I've never seen one and I've never seen one again. So the person selling it didn't even know what it was. And I said, I know what that is. And so for $5, it was well worth it. Just right now, I can't get it to work. But it's a cool device. So moving on quickly, this is a Saba Filigan W3T1 from 1953. This is a freebie. My neighbor was going to push this out onto the street for the trash man to take. But that doesn't make you well up in tears. My neighbor of mine got wind of it. She goes, my neighbor is moving to Mexico and they're getting rid of some old German radio that begins with an S. And I said, an S, the only one I could think of is Saba. And she goes, yeah, I think that's it. So I ran over there like the end of a Three Stooges episode to go fetch it. And there was in the garage, and they said, we're going to push it out. If you want it, it's yours. So it needs a good cleaning. I mean, I've got this years ago and I've done nothing to it, but it works. It absolutely works fine. Quiet, no hum, no anything. This thing is built like a tank. And some quick photos. This is the inside. Yes, it's dusty, but there's a record holder. The original light still works. It actually is in really nice shape. It's just very dusty.
I love the way they put the speakers in a bag a lot of time, that cloth bag if you back up a slide.
Exactly. I'll do that. I'll show that.
Silly people don't put their fingers through them.
Exactly. It's very elegantly done. It's protected very nicely because the people opening and closing is just, they put the extra mile in. And this is not a top end Saba. This is probably what I say a lower middle ground one, but nothing out of Saba came out that was, low end. It's just a relative scale. Here's the dial face. I mean, the one of the most satisfying of all the radios, the German radios have ever engaged a piano key. This has the most satisfying feel you can see. When you push it down, it's clunk. You can tell they spared no expenses back then, and they started sparing expenses in the late 50s when prices came caught up. There's it is fired up, and like all good Sabas, all the buttons when pressed in are backlit to tell you that's what you have engaged. All of them work. This thing it basically works like it almost.
Wow.
There is a phonograph that doesn't work. It's typical of all of them. They need a rebuild. But this thing it's a cool radio, and it's just a console version of a tabletop. The speaker is probably about the same size, maybe slightly bigger, but it was free. There's no way I was going to let that go at the trash man. Zero way.
John, how tall would you say that thing is? About 4 foot?
No, I would say it's about 3.5. It's not that tall. Maybe 4. Yeah, that's probably. You're right. You're probably right, Paul. It's only about 27
And
inches
across,
wide.
what would you guess? 2.5, 3 feet?
This is width-wise about 27 inches. It's pretty narrow. So it's a nice, tidy
It's nicely
size.
proportioned.
Yeah, exactly. And it's in really great shape. The only thing and I'll probably need some help, I'll probably be polling for people. It's right down where my cursor is. I'm missing a piece of brass trim. It must have opened up a little bit and someone must have kicked it with their foot or collided with a 200-pound Kirby. But I need to find some brass trim that I could repeat and fix that one piece off because it broke off. It's probably missing about 4 to 5 inches.
Call Ross.
So yeah, exactly. I'll have to see if he's got something sitting in his barn somewhere. And a quick, oh, here's the inside, even with the original tag, still sitting there, dusty, nice. But neat little system. And I'm going to show very quickly. I'll give 30 seconds. This was in our family. It isn't anymore. My mother gave it away. This is my dad's precious Telefunken Opus Royal. Now, the Opus Royal, as far as I can see, was made explicitly for American elite. It's a US only model. And what's interesting about it is it's blonde Philippine mahogany wood. And this picture is taken in 1965, okay? This is my brother, not me, because this is my older brother playing with this train set, the Tyco train set. And there they are, there's my older sister, my brother, but there's the Royal, and this is basically an Opus 7, a custom Opus 7 chassis. But what they did is it has a stereo amplifier that's built in, part of the chassis, not a separate component. It's 14 tubes total of the entire, that the Opus itself, it takes 9. I think there's another 5 for the stereo amplifier. So this is an early stereo. It's probably like late 50s. And you can see the reel-to-reel also right there that he had. So he had all the goodies. But at any rate, oh, by the way, that's me attending back then. So I'm on the Zoom going back in time. That's me. Hi, everybody. And since I thought everyone might appreciate
a vintage
toys.
Money.
I have one of those, and it still works. It's probably about 90% perfect, probably 85, 90%, but the lights still work. But at any rate, I'm going to unshare, and I think we're going to wrap this baby up.
Yes, it's 8:45, and we've seen some neat stuff.
Just a couple of quick announcements. Don't forget, we're a week and a half away from Spring Brookline. Don't forget people being in town. Please make it. I'll be there taking photos. I think Bob is on there. I think he's planning to do a survey. You want to just get a quick word in before I end this?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been working with Larry for a few months on a membership survey. We'd sent it out sometime over the winter and got lots of feedback, did the updates. The purpose is to help understand what the interests are of members, then develop some plans as a way to meet member needs, maybe attract new members, also to solicit participation and suggestions. And when I started on this, I actually got a draft of a survey from Howard, so I wanted to thank Howard. I can see him here on the call.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we're planning to do paper in at the swap meet, and then followed sometime after. We haven't nailed down the time yet by reaching out to folks who obviously not everybody's going to be at the swap meet. So reaching out online or by mail and getting their input also. So just wanted to mention it and encourage you all to participate and also to get your friends to participate.
Thank you, Bob.
All right.
Well, for anybody who doesn't have anything to do Saturday night coming up at 10 p.m., I'll be blabbing a little bit with Morgan White on WBZ at 10 p.m., AM 1030, talking a little bit about radio and just trying to mention Brookline. I only have a half an hour, so we'll try to just cram it in a little bit and just, if for nothing else, let people who aren't radio collectors know that we exist and invite them to maybe come by. I have received a couple of sets from people who wanted to give things to someone who would give it a home, not sell it, not part it out, not break it up, who showed up, from hearing us on BZ. So thank you to Morgan. And if you want to tune in, listen in, you want to call in, if he allows a few calls, call in, and we'll all try to sound intelligent.
All right, when was that again?
Saturday night, 10 p.m. It'll be the 8th. So this coming Saturday.
Thank you.
So it was nice to give us a half hour before the show, before next, the Brookline. And I think he actually had to bump somebody off to do it for us. So I'm glad we gave him that microphone, Howard. It's paying off.
That's great.
All right.
All right.
Well, good night, gentlemen. Thank you for everybody for sharing stories, images, sounds, etc. We'll see you shortly. We'll be back on the 20th, and we hope to see you in New Hampshire.
All
Well,
right.
take care.
Great.
All right,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Good night,
You
guys.
guys have a great night. Stay safe.
All right, go on eBay and find those 200-pound Kirby's.
All right, everybody. Take care.
See ya.